Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Friday. Tomorrow's Ascension update. It's very chilly, so please excuse the potentially runny nose. I'm just going to get my hands nice and warm. And it's week 4, I believe it's week 4 of the Woodland Chronicles. And today I want to talk about points of focus, judgment, where our energy's going, what's going on out in the world and our attitude to it. And with increases in light, and I've been talking about this for a few years now, especially with the exceptional circumstances that we've experienced, is that you and I and everybody in the light field are going to see things that are very triggering for us, and we are going to adopt points of view and perspectives upon this world that we hold very dear to us because they align with our own explanation of what we are experiencing, this ascension pathway. But as you are probably aware, if you get involved with social media on any level, is the quantity of disagreements and judgment that currently circulates. And this will occur and will continue to occur as we are navigating this particular process at the moment. The strongest kind of the strongest reactions of kind of anger or outrage or judgment that we can witness are from people who are usually awakened to the truth, but on a fear-based level rather than a heart-centered, love-based level. And that is a very very polarized area, because being awake, being aware of this world that we have lived in, the 3D matrix, and all of the things that we've been applying our attention to, or if you want to look at it from a higher perspective, the school that we signed up for. All of the experiences in the school that we signed up for were part of our learning process, and having unplugged from that and signed our higher soul contracts, we are given the opportunity to just step away from it. We step away from it, and we will always look upon what we have learnt with either rose-coloured spectacles a little bit further down the line, or we will remember it for being the grind that it actually has been. Now, in many cases at the moment, there are some very, very triggered people in the field. There are souls that have learnt how the captivity has occurred, and the power of the hypnotism, the trap itself has been very well laid out during our transit through the 3D matrix, how we were so infused into that dimensional space without any kind of thought of what's going on behind the scenes. And in many cases now that cat is out the bag, so to speak, metaphorically, there's a lot of very justified anger, there's a lot of outrage, there's a lot of very, well-deserved urges to shout from the rooftops about how awful all of this actually is, until you look at it from the perspective of somebody who has transited, who's moved through the transit period, has accepted that as a learning period, as a learning experience, and is moving now onto the higher frequency and vibration. One thing I feel it is very important, and this extends for all of us. There are many people that will be stepping up this year, many souls. It's been going on for 2 or 3 years. If you think about where we were at the beginning of 2020, the light workers were kind of isolated into clusters around the world. We were feeling quite segregated. We did not have the opportunity to connect or maybe speak our truths and to integrate with this higher field on a regular basis. We had to do so kind of under our own steam, and part of our learning process was to experience isolation. The nuts and bolts of that test are to get us in a position of self-responsibility. If we go through our whole ascension process, able to fall back on others all the time when things get a little bit tricky, a little bit difficult, then we wouldn't learn to be self-sustaining. And a lot of us have been very isolated over the years. We've been put in situations with our friends, with our families, within our what we desire, this light community around us where everybody is thinking and vibrating at the same frequency. There's no disagreements, there's no clashing of ideas or how things should be run. But that has been, that we've been starved of that connection, and particularly at the beginning of 2020, that was very much the theme still. And of course, as the world went into the extreme circumstances, that all changed. So many people began springing awake, and so through 2020 and 2021, and also particularly last year, it still feels a little bit like we've got the 2022 theme running at the moment. The very, very high frequencies that were applied to us are still applicable, even coming to the end of the first month. But this year will see a huge wave of souls waking up. And going back to my original point, I feel it is very important to be highly supportive of these souls. These are beings that are stepping into their soul mission. They might not quite know the rules and the boundaries of how to play within the field, and it's just up to us to set the example, be supportive, hold that light frequency. Now, this is very much going to be the subject matter of the members of the Golden Robe. Instead of taking on the pain of people who are basically helpless, we are now asked to be supportive of this light field, to be the almost like the promoters of anybody who are stepping up. They might just need a little bit of support. They might need somebody to bolster them or give them the feedback that we've looked for. I mean, back when I started in 2013 or 2014, I'd bring some information through, and I'd be so unconvinced about my own ability to read frequencies and read information that I would ask the universe to check my work for me. So before I posted on social media, I used to ask for a bit of verification. And it was quite lovely, because I'd have something, it would be given to me, and I'd be posting it back in this is back in the old days of Facebook when I was first starting. And because I was uncertain, I'd ask the universe to verify it for me. And at the time, I used to follow a lovely lady over in the United States that used to channel Hilarion, Ascended Master Hilarion. And on 2 occasions, I bought stuff through, and I was unconvinced about the validity of it, simply because I was not used to having, I wasn't sure, I wasn't certain that what I was receiving was 100%. And so on 2 occasions, and I was only given the 2 occasions, I was shown an article that this lady had channeled and brought through, that the words of Ascended Master Hilarion, and it was just so beautiful. It was mirrored perfectly that the information that I was bringing through was part of this field. Now, you will see this happening around you. You will see people that are drawn to the same fields that you are involved in, that you love, bringing quantities of information through that are plucked from this unified field. And I've seen so many responses of people like, "Oh, you're copying my work," or "This is there's there's no such thing as there's no such thing in this particular point as not as being able to trademark an energy or trademark information. There are so many of us that receive the picture, but then it comes through our own internal filters and we then portray it, we display it in our own personal way. So always take what resonates with you. If somebody is just beginning to step up and they're moving out into this field, and believe me, it does take internal strength and self-assurance to step up and to be in a visible platform, whether you're simply posting on Instagram or whether you're actually standing up and teaching other souls. Everybody goes through that stepping up process. So be there for them, because many people are feeling the soul calling to do this now, and it's our responsibility as established field workers to be there. That is part of our soul contract. So when we've got this huge field of teachers all confident enough to bring this information through, confident and strong enough in their self-assurance to be standing up and speaking from the heart, that is going to be that for me personally is one of the ideal and most golden pictures of the world around us. We are all teachers. Every single one of us have got something to teach, because every single soul that is incarnated onto this planet and has signed up for the Ascension pathway, we have got unique gifts, codes and talents. And at the moment we are portraying information that comes through our own filters, but that the picture that we are all reading is from a unified field, because obviously what affects us affects everybody, be it on the other side of the planet, be it in a faraway place. This ascension process is for everybody, and at the moment we are moving through it at breakneck speed. 2023 is going to be a massive wake-up year. You've heard me say this previously in the earlier videos. So be ready to be a teacher for the teachers, okay? So many souls are going to want to step up. They're going to want to convey what they see. They are going to require maybe a little bit of validation, a bit of support, maybe a little bit of promotion from you. Let's open our arms to this field and ensure that everybody gets the support that they need. This is I believe this is critical, because otherwise we're going to still be in our isolated clusters, clinging onto our personal information and getting territorial about who's doing what around us. There's enough for everybody, okay? So that's my first point of the day. The second is our attitude, I believe, to what's going on. Now we've unplugged from the matrix. We've unplugged. And in my workshop on the weekend, I was describing a little bit about what the 3D matrix looks like now in comparison to the way that it did, say, leading up to 2012, when it was all plump and well supported and everybody was still pouring their energies and their focus and their vibrations into it. If you imagine, what it looks like at a party when you've got like a bunch of balloons, and say 4 or 5 of these balloons have managed to retain the helium and they're floating. We always get one that leaks and it shrinks and it looks like a little shriveled up raisin of a balloon. Well, that is what the 3D matrix is beginning to look like now, because as we all unplug, it decreases in light. We have taken our most valuable asset away from it, our attention and our focus. Okay, so there will always still be aspects of us that are plugged into this while the current situation is as it is around the world. But the most important thing is not to give it our emotion. One of the biggest fuels for this 3D matrix is our emotional state, how we are engaging with one another, and that includes every aspect of the attention that we give the world around us. As soon as we are emotionally engaged on a lower frequency, on things on and we all know what our lower emotional states are, because we've been working so hard to rise above it. One of the most important things is to stay as clear as possible from judgment, from anger, from all of the, you know, like the things that would be regarded as the 7 deadly sins. You know, we sometimes we have to let our hair down and let ourselves go for a bit, just to clear that emotion through, and then we return back to the frequency of light, that stability within the heart center. And when I'm talking about be supportive of the teachers stepping up, also use your discernment. There are many souls out there that have established themselves that are not standing in a position of authenticity. So you can always use your discernment to feel that, you know, and the little pointers towards this are: how are they living? Do they live in alignment with their teaching? Are they selling a cure? You know, are they telling you that you are not enough as you are, and what they are providing for you will make you into this higher, shiny being? You know, at the end of the day, the responsibility is utterly, totally, completely down to us. Everything that we do. Okay, so when you receive a teaching, when you receive a healing, when you receive any quantity of information that's going to take you from one vibrational state to another, it will always be something that is provided to you that you then hold the responsibility to work with and step up. Okay, that will be the premise of all, that will be the foundation of all 5th dimensional teachings, healings, and any aspects, is to give you the power and the sovereignty and the responsibility to step into your own worth, your might, your mighty I am presence. And once you've got that, once that penny's dropped, it's very, very, you know, you can't stray away from that pathway. But there's some very, I'd say probably there's a lot of anger, and there always, and there has been, particularly for the last 3 years or so, at the souls that are holding sway over what we call the 3D matrix still, and they're still in positions of, in inverted commas, power around the world. You see them in politics, government, medicine, education, all of this kind of thing. It's all gone bonkers. Okay, if you're looking at it from the heart-centered perspective, it is literally like watching another planet on a soap opera. It's like, what is this doing? What's today's episode entail? And invariably, if we tune into it, it's quite staggering, the information that's coming through the news, through the media, and much of it is designed specifically to be triggering. Okay, it is designed to trigger an emotional response, which then binds you to the captivity of that previous dimensional space that we were involved in. And I'm going to use the words here, but I don't use them in a loveless manner. Okay, so the nature of the 3rd dimensional matrix was parasitical. Okay, so if you imagine what a parasite does to its host, it takes, but it doesn't kill. Okay, so if we and we've all, as human beings, we've all got microscopic, or maybe not so microscopic, parasites within our bodies, and that's just part of interacting with the world around us. And quite often these parasites will be serving our humanness in order to indicate to us that we need to change modalities within our behavior, or change our food, or change our environment. Make sure once we've regulated our bodies to be detoxified, then the parasites can no longer live in that environment. So in many cases you will hear the term elites being applied to the souls that are running the show in the 3D matrix. Okay, there is nothing elite about something that draws a resource from things that don't belong to them. Okay, that is essentially the actions of parasitical beings. But I'm not saying this again from a point of judgment. I'm simply saying that is the way that it operates. That is the platform in which they've been engaging with. Now, unfortunately, it's all got to the stage within the matrix where the parasitical energies, the entities that have been running the show, are in panic mode. You've heard me talk about the great panic. You know, they know the show is up. They know that we are moving very clearly into this state of unified enlightenment. And for once of a better word, the parasites have turned into beings that are taking too much, and so they are no longer doing the job that they were doing previously. It's almost like they are gathering as many resources as they possibly can before they know that it's time to ship off to another shinier space where they can enjoy their own natures within the boundaries of their own reality. But in actual fact, what's going to happen, what the reason for the panic is because they're looking at being placed back into the karmic cycle, which they've been avoiding for 10,000 years. If you want to know a little bit more about that, have a look into the previous videos that I've spoken. The souls that have been running the 3D matrix have avoided the cycle of karma and rebirth for 10,000 years, and their greatest fear is being re-emerged back into it again, because there's so much to pay back for. But one of the things that I strongly feel is that they have been playing a role. Again, at the end of the day, everything comes from divine source. They're actors playing a role. So I believe that their return to the light and their return to the higher field should be welcomed with open arms and love, not judgment, vengeance, thou shalt receive all of the karma that you've earned. We have all been involved in this entire cycle by soul agreement, and everybody has been acting out a certain role. So let's be the best version of ourselves that we possibly can be at the moment. Help the teachers to step up, remove the judgment, remove the kind of the anger and the vindictiveness that we get sucked into on the human process, and just be that heart-centered, grounded light and beacon of strength for those that are stepping up, those around us, and even for those of us that have been in the field, been doing this job for a long time now. We are all in need of those pillars of strength. There are a lot of us that have been standing up for decades, even longer than I've been doing this job, and are feeling tired now. It's almost like, right, okay, brilliant, we can step back and hand this over, but we need to hand it over to people that are supported. They've been well trained, and that's down to us. Okay, so I will be back on the 1st of February with my good friend Lavisa Altorn, and we've got the first of the World Tree series, which is going to be a beautiful event. It's a 3-part series. It concludes on the spring equinox, and we're going to be working with the Aesir gods. We're going to be working with the energy of Yggdrasil and the World Tree. Join us if you feel guided to do so. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be a beautiful dive in. Then on the 6th of February, I'm going to be working with the Golden Robe. Now, the Golden Robe, as I said earlier on in this video this morning, is about support. It's a support network for the huge field of light workers that are stepping up. We are no longer alone, and that is cause for celebration. But I think we all need to be knowing that we're all supported. We need to know what we're teaching. We need to know what we're stepping into. Sending you all lots of love. Talk to you soon. I'll be back on Monday. Bye for now.